Hi, it's nice to see you again. I didn't intend to make this video tonight, but I was online working on my script for an interesting documentary about my cosplay, and it's going to be really interesting. It's the first of hopefully several documentaries, long, in-depth documentaries about aspects of my life, like, well, this one is cosplay, another one is about perhaps my interest in film, and another one may be about my Madonna screenplay project and so forth. I had done videos about some of these topics before that I've since privatized, and maybe it's a good thing. I haven't deleted anything I've created. They still exist, but I've advanced since then in my technique, and I've advanced in terms of the thought that would be put into these videos, and certain other reasons. I've I've kept them, I've privatized them, and so forth. So maybe in the future, maybe I can create a separate channel for them. But right now, I'm putting those topics and perhaps other ones into longer length documentaries. So I was doing that, and while I was doing it, my friend had texted me about Star Wars, and he was I don't know which episode he was watching, and by the way, I have a video somewhat recently uploaded. It's in the channel. Look through it. It's called How to Watch Star Wars, and it's maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours, something like that. It's really in-depth. I'm working my way towards more in-depth discussions because I believe that the topics and the ideas that I express really deserve full attention, full exploration. So, okay, so my friend knew that I was interested in Star Wars, and I know he's seen the first film when it came out, the first film being subsequently called Episode 4, A New Hope, back in 1977, and I don't know if he had seen any of the others. He does own them. I don't know if he probably doesn't own Rogue One, but he owns the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. So he said he couldn't really get into it, and of course, wow, this is my opportunity to mention how it's an allegory to the Roman Empire developing out of a republic, and Nazi Germany becoming a dictatorship out of its Weimar Republic, so forth. And there's so many different avenues. It's an homage to 1930s and 40s science fiction films like Flash Gordon, which coincidentally came out in 1980 after the original Star Wars film, and then I would hazard a guess it came out just before. It came out in the same year as the second Star Wars film. But so he then watched Attack of the Clones, and he said this is basically for kids, something like it seems like it's good for kids, and there's so much more to it. There's way more to it. I mean, I devoted like 2.5 hours or something to a video on how to watch Star Wars, so that tells you something. So thankfully, fortunately, he said maybe because he's tired and so forth, he'll explore them again soon. I explained to him that there are 3 trilogies. There's episodes 1, 2, and 3, which is the prequel trilogy. There's 4, 5, and 6, which is the original trilogy. And I didn't mention the other trilogy, but I mentioned that it's not just a series of films. There are 2 or 3 trilogies, and that it's better to watch the original trilogy, episodes 4, 5, and 6, because that would preserve certain surprises. I can think of 3 twist surprises, twist revelations. Now, one of them is very popular, and anybody who hasn't seen Star Wars, probably at least almost all of them, probably would know what this one is. But there are two other twists, and these are not movies that you just watch. And I'm sure George Lucas intended this on purpose. These are not movies you simply just watch once and that's it. You can watch them several times and gain new meaning each and every time. There are different layers to each of these Star Wars films, even the prequels. I mean, the prequels are their own. The tone of the prequels is different from the tone of the original trilogy, and in a lot of sense, the prequel trilogy presumes that you've already seen the original trilogy, even though they chronologically take place later on. The original trilogy takes place later on. So there's a lot of interest in that. So I had this in mind, and I posted this on Facebook, and I figured, hey, I'm posting these ideas all in this Facebook post. I might as well share it with you, and there's a ready-made YouTube video right on hand. So let me just read what I have here. And keep in mind, this is a rough draft. I mean, this is spur of the moment, so it's not completed really. But I had one of those moments that's, well, existential thought might sort of describe it. A friend texted me that he was trying to understand the value of Star Wars. He was watching it, then watching Attack of the Clones. Ugh. Watching 4 to 6 is easier for a newcomer. Then, on the drive to work a moment ago, I thought about my statement that Darth Vader was a personal embodiment of Germany becoming mechanized. I thought of Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch. I'd wanted to steer clear of corrupting any conceptualization of how the Nazis used that term. What did he mean? He meaning Nietzsche. Star Wars comments on absolute power corrupting absolutely, and yet it depicts the Force as a benevolent power. My point is that and what I meant by that, in case it wasn't clear, is that you have two different concepts about power. You have the dark side of the Force. You have the Emperor and Darth Vader representing the absolute power corrupting absolutely, and yet you have the light side of the Force, and there are depictions about the healthy aspects of it. My point is that these times when I ponder about the deeper meaning that I feel, let me read that again. My point is that it's these times when I ponder about the deeper meaning that I feel a presence of a greater existence. It's something that could only be clunky when formulated into words. The way I understand the two Sephirot way atop the Kabbalistic tree of life, way at the top. There are Sephirot, there's a Malkut, which would be kingdom at the bottom, and then four Sephirot. And then there's an abyss, and then above that there are three Sephirot dealing with the mind. And these are the two of these three. The one in the middle is knowledge. I don't mention that here. But the two on either side, the counterpoints. The way I understand the two Sephirot way atop the Kabbalistic tree of life is that Chokhmah, wisdom, is something that doesn't have delineation. It's an intuitive image. Its counterpart, Binah, is understanding. This gives form to the thought. How can I adequately translate the thought or the Kabbalistic flow of light from Chokhmah to Binah without spilling some? I have felt for a long time that there are abstract concepts and thoughts. This flirts with Carl Jung, I guess. I like to think it also flirts with Plato. Sometimes we happen to tap into this experience. In other words, that, for example, as I was driving to work, sometimes we just happen to feel the presence of these abstract concepts flowing into our minds, and we feel, well, I deleted this and I reworded it right there, but originally I typed a sense of a greater, well, I feel like a greater presence, a greater like unity in the universe, but it didn't seem exactly what I was talking about, what I meant. So I rephrased it as sometimes we happen to tap into this experience. I'm thinking of an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, which is reminiscent of 2001 A Space Odyssey and Flowers for Algernon, which is a book, which was made into a movie called Charlie. In the Star Trek episode, an awkward crewman who feels uncomfortable around others becomes, and I'm talking about the episode, namely the episode I didn't mention here, is called The Nth Degree, and it's in the 4th season. An awkward crewman who feels uncomfortable around others becomes exposed to an interstellar machine, and both halves of his brain, both hemispheres, communicate more closely than ours typically do. In other words, as a result of this encounter, both hemispheres of his brain start becoming more integrated, and they communicate more. They're more unified, and he becomes smarter, and things are intellectual. What we would call like impossible intellectual challenges seem easy for him. He gains more confidence. I'm also thinking in terms of the Ubermensch with Darth Vader and the concept of slave mentality and master. By Ubermensch, I don't mean necessarily how the Nazis took Ubermensch or how others have interpreted the concept of Ubermensch. I'm talking about the original concept by Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche. I'm also thinking in terms of the Ubermensch with Darth Vader and the concept of slave mentality and master. He has a relationship with the Emperor. Now that's where I left off because, of course, I had to go to work and so forth. But I went to Wikipedia, and it was very tricky. I remember reading about the Ubermensch concept, specifically Nietzsche's concept of the Ubermensch. And I remember the slave mentality, and I remember slave morality and the concepts of good and bad. Not the way we think of good and bad, but like aristocratic and common. And it was, I only had a few minutes of break left, so I couldn't spend that much time to thinking it through. But I hope to revisit this sometime. And so there. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching this. Thanks for making it this far in the video. Please like it because I do. Please like it and consider subscribing to the whole channel because I do make substantial videos, and they're very thought-provoking and a lot. They're not just food for thought; they're a meal for thought. So consider subscribing. I think these videos are very worthwhile, and I'm building up the look of this channel. Often I forget to put the subscribe and like things that usually pop up in these videos, other channels, videos, but I am working on it, and I'm working on those thumbnails. It's a matter of time. I'm working 2 part-time jobs and so forth. So I'll talk to you next time. I hope you have a good day, a good week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.